This is Russell at Eye of Mine. Today I'm going to talk to you about the GoPro LCD BacPac. This little device can now allow you to see what you're shooting and you're no longer blind, and you can also play back videos, play back stills, and it's really a great enhancement for this camera. So this is the little guy right here. Very small, very compact, and it's got a speaker on the side. And it's got an extra button. You now have a total of 3 buttons on the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the camera, and you can see how this works. There's a little notch on the side of your camera. You just slide it in there, and then it just literally just slides right in, and put it all the way in, and you're ready to go. Now there's a protective cover. We'll just take that off. And let's go ahead and power the camera on, just like we normally do. But now you're going to see some magic. There it is. There is a little bit of a delay before it comes on. It's about 5 seconds. It's very important that you download the latest firmware for this LCD screen. Anything after February 1st, 2011 is designed for the LCD screen. If you have any firmware before that, make sure and upgrade it. Previous firmwares and also the camera from the factory, you put the LCD screen on, you won't see anything. So it's important that you download the firmware that's appropriate for the LCD screen, which I said is February 1st, 2011 or after, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and talk about the package here. It comes with 4 different doors, and here's the new. I just go ahead and grabbed a door, which is the non-underwater door, which has the openings now on top and bottom. So there's 4 openings, and completely clear back screen, and then it's got felt in there to hold the camera in. So I always take the O-ring out for land use because it relieves pressure on the black ring. That seems to be the thing that breaks the most on these cameras. So there's no need in putting undue pressure. With this back housing, it's got the felt which holds the camera in very nicely. So we're going to take off the standard back, and just pops right off. There's little openings on the bottom here. And we're going to pop on the new back, depending on which one you want to use. And there it is. So now let's pop the camera in there. And we are ready to go. Now let's talk about weight, because it now feels significantly heavy now. Before it was kind of a light camera, but it does have some substance to it now. And I imagine under extreme conditions, it's probably going to break some mounts. I expect to see some mounts being broken because it's only plastic, and if you got any kind of environment that this camera is being knocked around, you know, this is all it's holding the whole thing on. So I've got my little scale here, and we're going to look at the weight. So the stock GoPro with battery and the underwater housing is 6 ounces, and then now the brand new the LCD screen with everything else and the back is 7.3 ounces, which is quite a bit more. And so now you've got to be concerned about, you didn't have to worry about broken mounts necessarily before, but now you do. So my recommendation is you only use this screen to check your angle and, you know, what you normally would use a monitor for, and then don't use it for the extreme event. Because you're not going to be looking at it anyway. If this is on the side of a race car or on your helmet, you can't see it, so there's no point in risking breaking your mount. So that's my recommendation. So, but anything else, point and shoot or non-extreme, definitely keep this thing on. And of course, the big question is, how long does the battery last with this? With our test, we got 1 hour and 10 minutes for continuous recording with this on the whole time. And from the factory, it defaults with the brightness setting in the middle, which I'll show you in a second. And that gave us 1 hour and 10 minutes. And with the brightness turned all the way up, it gave us an hour and 5 minutes. So really no difference, just 5 minutes, and that could have just been an error. So go ahead and turn the brightness all the way up, and I'll talk about that later when we go through the menu system. So you've got the speaker here, and you've got a new button here. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into the menu system, and there's some enhancements with the firmware for the LCD screen, which you guys are going to love. So I'm changing modes in the front, and you notice that when I change modes, you got your icon displays here, but it also changes the format. For stills, let's go back. So here's stills, and then when I go to video, which is going to be one after this, notice how you now get black lines, and it's right now I'm running at 1080p, which is not as wide as a still. So you can see the difference right away if when you go into the different modes. So they have the black lines for the widescreen, and then when you're shooting 960, which is not widescreen, you won't have the black lines. So I'm going to go back to the settings, and now I'm going to show you the I think the coolest feature of all with this firmware is now I'm going to dive into the firmware by pushing the top button. And look, we now have text, and we don't no longer have these goofy 3-digit cryptic display. We now can read what it says here, which is great. So we can now go through here, and there is one new item, which I'm going to get to. It's quite a ways in here, and that is the LCD screen turning on or off. And this was a little confusing to me, so I wanted to explain how this works. There's the camera power off, so now we're going to get to the next one, which is called LCD auto power off. And this is confusing because you notice it says LCO, and you know that O always means on and F means off. Well, what it's saying is it says off, but it also says on. So what they're telling you is the auto power saving is off, which means your LCD screen is going to be on all of the time. Now, if I change this to LCF, then that means after 60 seconds of not touching the camera, for instance, if you hit the top button and hit record, after 60 seconds, this screen will turn itself off. So if you want to turn the LCD screen off, just tap that, and it shuts itself off and beeps. And to turn it back on, you just tap it again. Now, you're not turning the camera off. The camera is always staying on. It's just that you're turning the LCD screen on and off. Now, it's got quite a few new pieces of functionality. So with the LCD screen, the camera has gotten more complicated. So now if I hold this top button, or this side button in and hold it there, you hear a beep, and then you get this brand new menu, which we didn't have before the LCD screen. And notice it says play. Whenever the LCD screen is in this mode, it always says PLA. And now you've got this new screen. And while we have the brightness here, I want to talk about this. From the factory, it defaults to halfway. Most normal monitors, you always want it to be in the middle because, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you take a brightness all the way up, it goes really washed out and white. And so I always want it at 50%. Well, with this one, it's different. Especially after we did our battery test and it didn't make any difference. You want this cranked all the way up. But what it's actually doing is turning the brightness and the contrast up, and it's much better. This camera is still going to be hard to see in daylight. There's the combination of the LCD screen and this screen gets glare, and if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, that makes it even worse. So it is a challenge, like any point and shoot, to see this in bright daylight. So always have that brightness all the way up. That's going to be what you want. So now to change menu settings, right now it's saying, do we want to playback video, photo, or do we want to adjust the brightness? So let's go ahead and playback video. So I'm going to hit the top button, and there's some videos on here. So you notice we have sound too, and that's coming from right here. Even if I open this door, it really isn't any louder. So having this back door on here doesn't really cut off the sound, even though the sound's coming from down here. It's not loud. Once you're outside, you're barely going to hear it, but you can't expect much from a tiny little speaker like that. So if I hit top button or bottom button, it's going to go to the next video. Now, one cool feature that we've missed in the without the LCD screen is the ability to fast forward and fast reverse. So I'm going to go to a longer video here, and let's see here. Now I'm going to push and hold this front button in and watch what happens. And I'm still holding it down. Notice we're fast forwarding. Now that's a functionality we never had with the GoPro, and as soon as I let go, it starts playing. Now, even better, you hit the top button and push that down, it will fast rewind. And now you have all kinds of control on playback, which is a great feature. All that with just 3 buttons. It's amazing how they figured all this out. So I'm going to talk about the volume. While you're in playback mode, just tap it and you get volume. And if I hit this, keep hitting it, it's just going to go from 0 and slowly going up. So, and then that works the same with brightness. Every time you hit it, it just goes into a cycle. So I want to do maximum, so that's maximum right there. Now, in order to get back to live, you push and hold and let go. I have not been able to figure out how to go from video to stills. So now that we're in live, we're going to hit the button on the right side and hold it down. And now I want to go to video, so I'm going to hit the front button. That brings it down. And now I'm in photo. And now I hit the top button. And now I'm in still mode. Now another cool feature is it's just like video. If you want to fast forward or fast rewind, just push either button and hold it down and watch what happens. It now scrolls really fast through your pictures until you get to the one you want and you let go. And it works the same way on the top too. So now I'm going to talk about possible issues because now that this thing is bigger, you may not have clearance for some of your mounts. And the biggest one that I noticed is the chest mount. Chest mount, even though it's got the curly Q quick release, putting it on here, it will not go all the way up. So that could be a problem for some instances. However, I have discovered a workaround. If you buy the helmet mount, they have these really neat little things that are lifesavers in a lot of situations, because normally if you got a pivot arm, it rotates at 90 degrees. These things keep it in the same direction and they're not too long. So now watch what happens when I put this on the chest mount. And now we've got clearance without going too far out. So that is a pretty cool feature. And you can use this for any other mount that has having problems with the clearance if you've got the LCD screen on there. But as I said before, you don't want to have the LCD screen on if you've got its extreme environment, because that is just going to put a lot of strain on your plastic mounts, because they're just plastic and they can only hold so much. But if it's not extreme, then sure, there's no problem with putting the LCD screen on and then just turn it off while it's recording, and that way you're not running the battery down. So now I want to talk about live video out, because that has even a different menu, or an enhanced menu. So I'm going to take this out of the camera, or the camera out of the case, and I'm going to put it in a skeleton housing. So I've got a high definition monitor here, and they have a really neat feature with high definition, which I appreciated. So let's turn the camera on. Put it in the top. Now, whenever you have anything plugged in, what's plugged in takes precedence over the video of the monitor. You never can have both. So just keep that in mind. Now, as you may know, this is only a video cable. There's no audio in here. And that can be a problem, because then you've got to run audio from here. However, they've got a neat thing. Let's go back to playback. So I'm going to just push and hold this button. Now we got something new here. Live feed. So now I don't want live feed. I want to play back a video. So I'm going to hit that front button and hit the top button to select it. Now the sound is coming from here. Even though the video, high definition video, is coming from here, the sound is coming from here, which is a great feature, because like I said, there is no audio that comes out of this cable, and you have to have both cables in order to want audio to come out of your external monitor. So that's kind of a neat feature. And so we go to the next video. I'm going to get to Yosemite, because that's a beautiful shot. Just show you the quality of this camera with a high definition monitor. So that's high definition. So now we're going to talk about standard definition. That works a little bit different. So with standard definition, you do not get any audio from here, because the audio is included in this plug. They decided it's not necessary to have it play through here, because it's going to play through your external monitor. And we should see something here. Yeah, so now I'm getting audio from my external monitor coming from here. So that basically is the LCD screen, with some tips and tricks, and go out and make some great videos and stills.